Welcome to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa. Sponsored by Carnation. Airing live on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. This show's opening has been produced, edited, narrated by Gwen Luckett at gluckett.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're also live on Roku, so you can watch us live from your TV. We're fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We love them. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go to YouTube, UFO Gods Paranormal Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbeam, and of course, our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio. If you're not already in there, get in there. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So again, tonight, guys, we have another amazing guest. So please welcome to the show, Joesph Remo.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi. Joe, he's from Staten Island, New York, which happens to be our hometown, too. He struggled with undiagnosed Crohn's disease since he was 9 years old and didn't find out what it actually was until he was about 28. Due to this illness, he had several close encounters with death. He's turned a negative into a positive, and he's became a well-known food critic in New Jersey and New York. He's had multiple ghost sightings over the years, too. So please, let's welcome him to the show.
Hey,
Welcome.
How you doing, everybody?
Hi. So thank you
to
for
be
coming
here.
on tonight. We're excited to have you. So what we like to do is usually take us, from the beginning of your story. Tell us and the listeners, how you struggled with this awful disease, and why wasn't it diagnosed early on?
Basically, since I was a little baby, Gavon, I would get up around, say, when I was 9, 10 years old. In the morning, I would have real bad nausea. And, I don't know anything. I'm, that young, and I used to hide things from my mom like all kids. So I wouldn't really say nothing. I would be in the bathroom for a prolonged period of time. Always have weird feelings in the stomach, things like that. But, you don't know anything. But as time goes on, now 13, 14, 15 years old, when I turned 15, I got really sick. I went from 238 pounds to 138 pounds within 8 months. They thought I had cancer and things like that. So I was so weak I couldn't even pick up a box fan. So, that was when everything became real surreal. I was bedridden for 8 months at a time. They would do all these different types of tests, never could find out what was going on. And then, fast forward to 28 years old, I was basically left in the hospital for dead. My doctor basically told me he couldn't do anything for me because my situation was too severe. So he didn't want to take a chance on doing anything. But in the same sense, he left me in the hospital with nobody. So one of his associates came in and said, listen, I know what happened to you because he was his friend. He was but I know somebody in Manhattan that could really help you. And what God does, he always lines everybody up for a reason. So I went out to the city, and when I went out to the city, I met a doctor named Dr. Swaminoff. And basically he changed my whole life. Him and Dr. Stephen Lee Kong, you know, they were, you know, close friends. Stephen Lee Kong is a surgeon. Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Swaminoff is a gastrologist in Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan. So when he knew that I was going to need surgery, he, you know, contacted me with Dr. Stephen Lee Kong in New York Presbyterian Hospital. And then it was just, you know, an adventure from there between multiple near-death experiences, from emergency surgeries to being in the hospital for months on end, couldn't eat, had tubes in my throat, you know, the bag twice, the loop ileostomy bag and things like that. But at the end of the day, it, you know, was one of the biggest blessings that I've, you know, could have got. It put me in a different perspective mentally when it comes to, you know, what life could be and what life is. So for me, you know, once that started to happen around 2015, I couldn't work no more. I was doing like 14-hour days. I was in charge of like this company called Popalock. I was a supervisor of like 15 people in Brooklyn, Staten Island, Manhattan. And then once that stopped, you know, I fell into like deep depression because, you know, I'm used to working all my life. I'm not one of these people to stay home. My wife was working, you know, so it's like, what am I doing? You know, like that part of me was like, gone at that moment. So I had to start other things, and I poured my heart into my food. And, you know, thankfully, you know, I couldn't see it like almost 10 years ago, but it was the biggest blessing in my life. You know, I would have still been working 14-hour days. I wouldn't be able to own a house. Through all of that, I still was able to, you know, obtain a house. And God, you know, most importantly, I was brought closer to God. That was the most important thing for me. You know, my wife really showed how, you know, how she stuck by me through it all. So I'm very thankful for that. And thankfully, I'm here today talking to you guys, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, did you did almost die, or did you?
Yeah, absolutely. The first near-death experience that I had was when I was 15 years old, when I went from 238 to 138 pounds. They had to rush me into the hospital, right? So now I'm in the hospital in the waiting room, and there's this girl with me, and she's sitting there, and all we hear over the loudspeaker is room 212 for surgery, room 212 for surgery. So, you know me, I'm like, who the hell's, you know, 212? So the girl comes out and looks at the thing. She's like, oh my God, Joey, you're 212. So I'm like, oh, that's nice news, you know? So when that happened and they realized, because my stomach, when I woke up that morning and I went to the hospital, one side of my stomach was greatly bigger than the other. So I started to cry because I was like, you know, I knew it was, I felt it. Like I felt like I was dying. When I was sleeping, you know, no medication could work. I was very weak. Come to find out, when they do bring me in there, I was losing so much blood because I was internally bleeding that they had to give me a blood transfusion because, you know, they didn't tell me this at the time, but they brought my mom out to the room and was like, listen, if we don't get him 2 pints of bloods by tonight, there could be a good possibility that his heart stops because he don't have enough blood in his system to pump his heart the right way. So, you know, immediately my mother agreed to that. And, you know, for whatever odd reason, they do blood transfusions. They like to do them at night. So I went through my blood transfusion, and thankfully it stuck. They found out that I was bleeding internally because I had what they thought was a hematoma. They didn't know that I had Crohn's disease at the time. And a month before this all happened, I went to the doctors, to the same hospital. And I was telling them I have a problem on my side, you know. They made me do some stretches and whatnot. And they're like, oh, you're fine. They let me go back home. A month later, they do all of these tests. They find out that I'm, you know, bleeding internally. Now they're shoving tubes down into my stomach to drain all the infection and all this other stuff. Came out of the hospital 2 weeks later, back in there again. It was, that was the first near-death experience. Thankfully, I got strong from there. And then you fast forward to 26, and that's when I went back into the hospital for like the second time. And that's when my intestine was twice the size as a normal intestine. It was, it was like severely in a case of exploding. So, and that's when the doctor left me. So, all of that, with all the anxiety and PTSD that brought along, I couldn't even think about like even doing a show like this like 8 years ago because, my nerves were just, all over the place because of everything that was going on, So I'm just thankful that I'm here today and I can tell my story.
Of course.
My question is too, though, how did you, because this disease obviously has to do with food. How did you switch to the food? Like, right? Like the one thing that hurt you the most really turned out to be your passion.
It's
that's
really,
crazy.
I'm sorry about that. It's really, to be honest with you, it's taking what you would think, your worst, nightmare into like literally a blessing. What I did was, I'm not going to have my wife, even though, I had still some money coming in. I'm not going to have my wife work 8-10 hours a day, come home and try to take care of a house, cook, and everything else. So all of that love that I took from my job, I poured into my food. So what I started to do was learn what could work for me, but in the same sense, not hinder, she shouldn't have to pay that my stomach is like this. So I would make her meals with, her seasonings and things, and then I would do my own. But my meals, if I showed you my meals, there would be nothing to look at. So, when you see these pictures, it's from her meals. My meals are like turkey and gravy.
That's crazy. So let's get into, I know Phil wants, let's get into the paranormal side. And I know that you've lived in quite
a few houses, yeah.
Few houses. What are the experiences that you've had as a child that really kind of like stick with you, or maybe like, left a mark on you actually?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of those. The first time I ever seen anything with like any kind of paranormal was like my first paranormal experience was when I was around like 7-8 years old. My mom knew this lady, and we would go spend like sometimes weekends over there and stuff like that. It was like a little trip, we really didn't have much money. So when we used to go do anything, it was a big deal. So one weekend, we're hanging over there, and this is the first time we ever go over there. And this was the last time we ever went to this place because I was so scared. The lady kept on telling us, there's a ghost named Duncan. I cannot remember the female's name. They, the husband and the wife passed away in their house. Everybody saw this ghost in the house. Somebody even got cracked upside the head with a water pitcher.
Oh, wow.
What, on Christmas Eve or something like that. So me being, the mischievous child that I am, I like to joke a lot. I'm calling them Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like Dunkin' Donuts and all this other stupid stuff. So all my brothers and sisters are like, don't do that. Don't do that. They all getting nervous and stuff. Now, that night in the living room, they have like a big wraparound couch. So, we're all young. We all are able to sleep on the wraparound couch with our mom. So I don't know what time it was, but it was definitely in the middle of the night. All I remember was just waking up. And when I woke up, I was next to there. Like, you remember back in the day, those TVs that the floor mount TVs, but they got like the 55-inch ones and stuff like that. Like, they're the big, like, floor mounted TVs. They're nice. You have to have kind of a little bit of money to have them.
Yeah.
But they had those. And I remember because I was sleeping right there, Woody Harrelson and Whoopi Goldberg was on TV that night. So I look at the TV, and where I could look directly through the walkway into the kitchen. And when I looked into the kitchen, I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, a white outline of a person, but very, very foggy in the middle of it. But the outline was like you couldn't see through it. And if I had to put like a description on the outline, it looked like the Gordon Fisherman almost, like the rain hat with the like,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see this thing, right? And like I'm froze, like I don't know, like I'm 8 years old, 7 years old. I don't know what's going on here. No cursing. So literally I start to cry. And the thing, Duncan, I'm going to call him because it had to be him. Because they said when the next morning that I did see him, that's who it was. When he got about a foot away from me, I don't remember nothing else. It was like I immediately fell asleep. I woke up the next morning. When I woke up the next morning, obviously I told everybody. I was so scared I couldn't even go to the bathroom alone. Never went back to that place. So I'm thinking, through my time, like, that was really spooky. I stay away from that place, I'll be good. But almost every place that I went to, I actually experienced something. I don't know. Maybe it was because I was really close to death a couple of times. Maybe. I don't know what it was. But I just don't I don't close myself off to anything. And the most important part about this journey for me is when I did get sick, I opened myself up to the spirit world so much more. I never knew about, nature signs with birds and things like that. I never knew things with, number sequences. When I ask questions, I get answers back, and I don't have to get the answers back the way we talk. I get them back through signs. And when I say things, even my wife, she don't like certain things that I say because she knows whatever I say is the truth. So even if I tell her, hey, listen, I remember 2 years ago, the week before I went to the hospital for my last surgery, I knew it. And I told her, I was like, listen, I'm out of here in a week. She's like, what the hell do you mean? You're out of here in a week. I was like, I'll be in the hospital by Friday. Mark my words. Friday night, I was in the hospital.
Wow.
How do I know? I don't know. I just got the feeling. And I believe that it's nothing special of me. It's just I opened myself up to it. If everybody in this, if there's 2 people or 1 million people listening to this, if they could take anything from me, it's be open to the answers that you are asking, Jesus, God, whoever you believe in. Be open to the answers and you'll see them. And, for me, I think it's just such a blessing that I learned that,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're a lighthouse. I mean, obviously you're a lighthouse, and I think you're right. I think that, being so close to death has definitely opened you up, and it does that to a lot of people. We've heard tons and tons of stories.
Yeah.
Like that, right, Phil?
Oh, most definitely. That experience alone will open up a doorway. And it doesn't have to be bad. I mean, ghosts, some ghosts aren't bad,
No,
we don't put labels on them. Some are like,
excuse me, I got agita. I should have took some Pepto or something. But, I'll tell you this story. My room was in the basement. And before I went to the hospital for what I told you about room 212, I was in the basement. I was laying down. This is another, ghost experience. In another house, though, my actual house. So basically, I was laying down in the basement, and this is when I was literally dying. I had my back to the steps and my face to the wall. And at the time, my mother was at work. She worked at Costco. She's like a little Costco vet. And my two brothers were at school. My sister was upstairs sleeping because she did overnights at Pathmark. You guys remember Pathmark back in the day?
My mother actually she was one of the managers there.
My mother was a meat wrapper for Pathmark.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
You know, small world. You know, they probably knew each other. So I'm almost sure of it. You know how it is, Phil. Everybody's like that in Staten Island. Everybody knows each other.
Everybody knows everybody.
So basically, now I know nobody's up. I know my sister's passed out, and I asked my sister after this, and she was like, I was sleeping until 4 o'clock. You know, this was I think it was at 10:30, like 11, because my mother just left. She used to be, you know, she used to leave at like 11 o'clock. But anyways, so all of a sudden, I hear somebody like literally coming down the stairs, right? Now they come down the stairs, and at this time, no exaggeration, I am so weak and tired that I don't even want to turn around. Like, I think it's my sister personally, you know? All of a sudden, I feel somebody come up behind me and pat me on my shoulder 3 times. That was the most comforting feeling I've ever had in my life. When I tell you that I don't even want to sound morbid when I say this, but the calmest feeling I've ever had in my life was when I was dying. And that's the truth. The calmest I've ever felt in my life was when I almost died. For whatever reason, I don't know. But later on that day, when I see my sister, you know, because I fell asleep, I walk upstairs and I was like, Chris, I was like, did you come downstairs for anything? I was like, because somebody walked down the stairs and like patted me like a consoling pat, you know, like 3 times on my shoulder. She was like, Joe, she's like, what the hell are you talking about? She was like, I was sleeping until like 4 something. I was like, she was like, you know, I just got home at like 6 something in the morning. So I was like, listen, you know, it didn't. Remember how, you know, Phil was saying about the ghostly encounters, that some of them aren't bad?
Yes.
Well, it's 110% true. You know, there's this place, you guys, I could almost guarantee for certain, because you as Staten Islanders know this place. It's called Seaview Hospital.
Yeah, yes.
You know how haunted that is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You ever heard of a guy named Kid Cudi?
Not me.
Well, Kid Cudi is a famous musician. He used to live next door to me. He's a rapper. He used to sing a song called Day and Night. I'm not going to sing because everybody will run away from the stream. But I'm better at talking. The voice doesn't travel so well, you know, when I'm singing. So I brought him there one day. He's from Cleveland. He, you know, the same town as LeBron James and whatnot. And he was into ghost stuff. And I said, oh, you're into ghost stuff? I'll bring it to a place. So we bring him to Seaview. They have it all, you know, gated off. And he's taking pictures with his phone. And when he takes pictures with his phone, you know, we go back to the house. It was like around dusk. In one of his pictures, you could see in the window a blue orb.
Yeah.
Like bright as day. And anybody that knows Seaview Hospital in Staten Island knows that they do witchcraft in there. They do serum. They do a whole bunch of stuff in there. Let's just put it that way, you know. Sugar, honey, iced tea.
There's a lot.
You gotta be creative.
So, I remember you tell me. Didn't you tell me a story once about Seaview and something that you experienced something there?
Isn't that Seaview's the one on Manor Road?
Next to Wagner High School.
That's right, Manor Road, yeah. We used to play hide and seek in there. Yeah, we've had some ghost stories in there too from back in the 80s.
Yeah, because that area and where Wagner College is used to be for like the mentally disabled.
Yes.
Right.
And
that's right.
What they used to do there is they used to torture the kids, and they used to experiment with the kids. They have a documentary on it, actually. And
you're talking about the Legend of Crosby, right? Too.
That's
I don't want to lie to you, but all I know is that they did a documentary on how they used to abuse mentally ill patients in these places. They used to do it, I believe, in Seaview too. They used a lot of people died in there because it was an old hospital. Yeah. So when you go in there, like, you know, Phil knows, it's just like one of my friends went in there and they were doing a ceremony on a dead dog.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad in there.
Yeah, so you know, I don't mess with those things. I'm on, you know, the God side with that, but you know, it's very real, and they do that. They even do it on the beaches. You know, like there's a place called Lemon Creek, beautiful place. And if you walk on the beach, you could see like where they did certain ceremonies and stuff, like they do all that crazy stuff. Me personally, I stay away from it, but to each his own, you know. But yeah, basically we went there. He couldn't believe it after he ran through his pictures and he seen that blue orb, because it was like the window, you know, it was a big window, but the orb looked almost like it took up almost the whole window. So, you know, after that day, he started to believe a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, you know what they say, you have to see it to believe it. I mean, Phil always says this, you have to see. Some people, you know, they'll believe it or they won't, and if they don't, then they're not meant to believe it at that time. We have a lot of people in chat. I think this is our producer. Look at these good-looking people. We have a station meet. Oh, what does he say? He's talking about a station meeting in there. Oh, he's too funny. Donna Remo. I think she's related to you.
That's my aunt.
That's right. I worked in Seaview Hospital.
Yes, you did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she worked there. She probably experienced some things herself. Okay, in Seaview Hospital, right? They still use, all right, basically where Seaview Hospital is, okay? There's a road that goes on the side of Seaview, but it goes like basically into the back of Seaview, and it's a morgue. And they still use it till this day. So my father, he's a real like old school tough guy, nothing scares him, I'm the man, all that stuff. And he got a job to paint the inside of the morgue. So I was with him at that time, not in the morgue. He couldn't pay me to go in there. I don't even know why he took the job, to be honest. He was probably hard up, but there was something up, because for you to take that job, I would not do it, you know? So the first night he comes home, you know, he wasn't living with my mom at that time, but I was staying with him. He comes home and he goes, Joe, you won't believe what's going on there. I said, what's going on? He was like, man, I could tell you when it's getting dark. I said, what do you mean? He said, because things start moving and things start rattling. I said, so what does that mean? He was like, it's just weird, Joe. I said, yeah, but you don't believe in none of that stuff.
Well, I guess he does now.
Right? So
and he was in there alone. He was in there alone.
This, right? Because he's hard-headed.
Yeah.
He goes, it ain't nothing. The next day he goes back, right? He stayed until after dark. He comes back and he goes, Joe, I will never go. I got 3 more days here. I will not stay past 7 o'clock no more. I said, why? What happened? He said, Joe, I seen one of the tables move. He said, I'll never do it again. I was like, listen, I told you, you know, even though he had multiple experiences, he's just very hard-headed. But he had multiple personal experiences himself, living upstate. You know, he lived in a 4-apartment house. He was the only person, him and, you know, his girlfriend at the time, were in that only apartment. And he heard people running through from his apartment to the other apartment. He heard one night, like 2 people messing around, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. So he thought somebody broke in. you know, because he's managing the place. He's the only person there, you know?
Yeah.
He thought somebody broke in downstairs on the opposite side to do whatever. When he walked in there was not a soul in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like he was pulling up to his house one night and he seen an old lady sitting on the porch. There's nobody that lives in this house. So for me, I would have moved out, you know, at that point. You know, like I would have moved out at that moment. But, you know, I think it's like,
well, you know, like we said before, not all these ghosts, they definitely scare us, right? Because you're seeing things that you just can't explain. But like you said, they're not all bad. And I think that's what we really need to keep drilling into everybody's head. I mean, they're not
absolutely
bad.
because every experience that I had was never a bad experience.
No.
Nobody ever hurt me. If anything, I felt
it could
calm.
be loved ones. It could be loved ones that you don't even know that passed over.
I believe it was my Uncle Carmine that did that pat on my shoulder. He's my guardian angel.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really see it so much, but
it
you know, I
sounds
have it tatted on my arm.
It sounds like something like that. It was definitely like a loved one, just, you know, patting you and just telling you that everything's going to be okay. Phil, you're very quiet.
Oh, I'm just enjoying the show. Listening to it. I remember the old music house nearby the college that was haunted. Back in the day, the music house, and they stopped it. They shut it down.
They shut it down?
Yeah, because they were hearing the piano play when no one was in there, and the kids were getting scared. This is going way back, I think the early 80s.
What was it called? The
music house, right nearby in the college.
I'm going to ask my dad about that one because he was all through those areas, and I know that he experienced some things. I only experienced really from Seaview outside of like say house experiences, but like Julia was saying, like it's, you know, I'm not saying every ghost is, you know, going to be a positive experience in somebody's life. I can only speak on what I have dealt with, and every single situation that I have personally experienced, of course, I was a little spooked in them, you know, in that first second. But did they do anything to scare me other than show up? No, not at all. You know, nobody, like, you hear some of these paranormal experiences, which is scary. You know, they get cuts and, you know, things like that on sometimes.
That's happened here. I mean, that's happened here a lot.
Scratches, the knocks,
we've had a lot of teams here investigating the house, and they've left with scratches, and it's.
But you know, it makes me think because, you know, as a native Staten Islander, and I wrote a book about it, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences on the island. Richmond Town, for example.
Oh yeah.
The old cemetery.
Moravian Cemetery.
Moravian Cemetery. Yeah.
You see Vanderbilt. They say you can see Vanderbilt because there's Vanderbilt's tombs up there.
Yeah, I've been back there many a times, and I agree with that.
Right? It's beautiful though in the cemetery. They even got a beautiful lake in there.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah.
If you're gonna take the dirt nap, that's where I want to go.
I said that too. I mean, I think I said that too. It's beautiful there. It really is. And you know, Staten Island, so there's so much history, and I will never forget 2017, Phil, when we did that investigation, because we were investigating the Legend of Crosby, Holly Ann Hughes case, and I'll never forget. Oh God, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Wasn't that Willowbrook? What was that building that you were in?
Willowbrook. Yeah.
That's where all of that stuff happened. Where they
yes.
The guy that was kidnapping the children.
Right.
Yes.
We were investigating that case, trying to get some answers on Holly Ann Hughes' disappearance. In 1982 it happened. But I'll never forget, I was there with friends of mine who's a medium, and she's like, the only thing that I'm hearing is shh, shh. Because why? what is Staten Island known for? You know, it's a very
Keep it
hush,
quiet.
hush.
Nothing
And
ever happens in Staten Island to everybody else, but if they only knew, you know?
yeah, there's a lot going on there. And I'll never forget her experience. She's like, I've never been anywhere like this in my life. It's everything, everywhere, every place she went, it was like some like a mobster type was telling her, shh, 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 be quiet, be quiet.
Yeah. You know, for whatever reason, the past, like, I would say, like, maybe 10 years, Staten Island has been getting recognized by even the news. At one time, you both know this, you would have never heard of Staten Island being on the news at all. You could have had 12 murders in one night.
It's true.
Nothing happened on Staten Island.
It's true.
Half the island sunk.
Yeah.
Nothing happened on Staten Island. It's just
weird,
right, you know?
We're hearing a little bit more about Staten Island lately. I mean, that
well,
is
lately,
true.
but he's right. Back in the day, it was the forgotten borough, Staten Island.
Yeah.
And then it started to
Black
decay.
sheep of New York, they called us.
Yeah. You would tell people from New Jersey, I'm from Staten Island, like, what's Staten Island? Where is that?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, no, you're not. You're from Jersey. No, I'm not. Don't tell me where I'm from, you know? No, but seriously, you know, all those experiences that I did have, you know, I remember one time when my mother was living at the time on Cary Avenue, okay? It was a 3-bedroom apartment. I was actually living in Florida at the time with my wife. I came for a month to go see my family. It's been about over a year, you know? So I went to go sit there for about 2 weeks to a month. You know, I wanted to see if we could try to move back up to, you know, Staten Island at that time. So I'm, you know, couching it in the living room, and it was about 1:30 in the morning. I'm talking in the doorway, but I'm inside my brother's room, and he's hanging out with his friend and stuff like that. And, like, literally, we're talking like this. The doorway is over here, and when you could look through the doorway, you could look through the living room, and then the kitchen was right there, but it's so small. It's a little, you know, Staten Island apartment. So for whatever reason, I'm sitting there talking to, you know, them, and I look, for whatever reason, I get a feeling to look to the left. When I look to the left, there's an older lady, about like 83 years old, hunched over, just looking at me. Like, just looking. Honestly, and I got chills from it. Honestly, I jumped. I said, "Oh, S-H-I-T," right? Jumped back, and my brother was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Bro, I just seen an old lady in the kitchen."
Wow.
He's like, "Get that." He was like, "Get out of here with that stupid stuff," right? So now let's fast forward a month. I go back to Florida, right? Now, obviously, that next morning, I told everybody what happened. Now I'm in Florida, right? This is the crazy thing. The lady, because this is you know, like a lot of New York houses, it's a big house, and then it's 4 apartments. So she's living on the top left corner, and my mother at the time was living on the bottom right. So I get a phone call like a month into being into, you know, Florida, living there again. My mother calls me and goes, "You wouldn't believe this, but the lady Margaret that lives upstairs, like, there's like an old fireplace up there, and they opened up the fireplace, and there was pictures of an old lady that was between 82 and 85 years old that looked exactly like I described her." They were all shocked. They all thought I was lying at first. I was like, "I told you. What do you think? I lie about these things? Listen, I'm messed up, but I ain't that messed up." You know, so I've been through a lot of those experiences, and, you know, it makes for good stories now. But at that time, I'm not going to lie, it was really scary. You know, when you talk, there's no absolute feeling to describe the feeling that you get to just look. You could be in a conversation like we are, and the vibe will just give you the turn your head, Joesph. I look, and that was there, you know, and it's like,
you always have like that feeling when you're being watched.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that happens to us all the time. You're being watched, and you want to look, but you don't want to look, but you look anyway.
Yeah.
Because you have no, you just do. And
Yeah. It's like that. It's like the bad scene from a movie where you close your eyes, but then you just like, you open them up a little bit to see it,
It's basically how it is. Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, that's how we live our life here in the Horsefly house. So.
Hey,
well,
let's twist this up a little bit, because something also caught my interest about you, tonight's guest. Let's talk about food. You're a food critic.
Yeah, I love food. Yeah, we could talk about that all night.
I want to talk about food because I'm a calzone lover. I love calzones.
Oh, no.
What's one of the places you'd recommend for like the calzone in New Jersey or New York?
Okay. In New Jersey, there's a place called Mystic Island, and they have a place called Mystic Pizza there. They have a really, really good calzone, like New York worthy calzone. That's in Jersey. That's the only one that I have tasted so far that I would honestly recommend calzone wise. If we're talking about pizza, we could talk about Palermo's. I think that's in Hamilton, or Robbinsville, around there. De Lorenzo's is in Hamilton and Robbinsville, that area. Those are two really good places. What else? We'll hop over into Staten Island because I'm a little bit better in there, Staten Island, right off the bat, if you want a calzone, I go right to Brothers. Brothers is Old Faithful. You know what I mean? Like, people have their debates between Danino's
and Brothers.
Mm-hmm. To me, they both hold a special place in my heart. They both do two different things.
I was going to say that.
Huh?
I was just going to say that they're different, but in their own way, right? They got their own different. You can't compare them because they're different, but good. From what I remember, it's been a long time.
Excuse me, the agita. With me, Brothers has a thicker slice of pizza. Danino's has a thinner. So for me, pizza-wise, I go with Danino's. I love Danino's pizza. My family knows Danino's forever. They knew my grandfather. They know my mother. So they have a little bit, I'm closer to the heart with them. And plus, there's zucchini sticks, and their galamad, and also their buffalo galamad. Listen, they're amazing.
I'd rather eat that than a calzone or a pizza, honestly.
Yeah, well, the galamad and the zucchini sticks, like, they're really top notch. They're like in my opinion, they're like top 3 in Staten Island. Now for Brothers, say if I'm going to Brothers, one of my favorite things Brothers makes is their potato croquettes, their garlic knots, their regular slices still really good, but their Sicilian is top notch. They have one of the best Sicilian pizzas on the island, and their chicken roll is up there as well. So if you're going to do anything...
Answer, Phil.
Huh?
Phil got his answer. Now, I'm going to wake up.
Wait.
I'm going to be gone.
Wait. Where was Brothers Pizzeria?
It's on First Avenue, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. You know where the
Is that on the corner?
Yes, the corner.
The corner where Flyers 51 is?
Yeah.
Right there.
They are good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Then you got Villamonte. I love Villamonte. Villamonte got some good pizza. They're in Springville, and they're also in like the Tottenville area. They're really good.
I think you have another family member in chat, Lewis.
Oh, that's my brother.
And okay. He said Moteos in Jersey for ham calzone.
Oh, I don't even know where that is. But he lives in towards Edison area, so he would know that area. Me, when I first came to New Jersey, I've been here for 5 years, but the first 3.5 years of my life in Jersey was nothing but being home, in and out of surgery once or twice a year, emergency surgeries. So I didn't get the full-on experience yet of like, I just started doing reviews 6 months ago. It's like, it was supposed to happen. I got that following on TikTok.
So you did all of that in 6 months?
Yeah. I started doing the reviews in 6 months. They started blowing up, but I only had TikTok for like a year and 4 months.
Wow.
So yeah, when I got on TikTok, my wife's cousin kept on telling me for 2 years, go on TikTok, Joey. I'm telling you, you'll blow up, Joey. I'm telling you. And I'm nah. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm telling him, listen, Ty, that's his name, Tyler. I said, buddy, I should have listened to you 2 years ago. But who would have known what would have happened 2 years ago? God has everything lined up exactly the way it's supposed to be. So I'm thankful, you know?
That is. You know, have you ever thought about writing a book?
If I wrote a book, you wouldn't be able to read it.
You can get, well, there's always, you know.
You'll have the F word and forget about it every other sentence.
Forget about it. Hey, okay, let's talk about steak.
Oh my goodness.
I just made that yesterday. You know, I used to like steak basically walking on the plate, you know, like that's how raw and rare it needed to be.
Yeah, me too.
But I can't do that. I can't digest it as much anymore because of the Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
So I have to do it like more of like a medium to well. But for me, sometimes I dibble and dabble and I'll, you know, throw it on for only 5 minutes on each side and take it off, you know? So sometimes you got to do it like that. Sometimes, you know, you got to behave. But one of my favorite meals on the barbecue is steak and chicken. You can't go wrong with that, you know? Like, you could season it up. You don't have to season it so much, you know? Like, you could do anything. It's so versatile, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do a big ziti on it.
Where would you go for a good steak?
Wow,
Where would I go for a good steak? Okay, there's a place opening up right now. It's in Philadelphia, in Rivers Casino. It's called Martirano's Prime. It's gonna be the best steak you could buy, but with an Italian twist. Like, this place is gonna be top notch. And the only reason why I'm telling you this is because, you know, I don't know the man personally, but I know how he operates with his other businesses. And if Steve Martirano was part of a business, it's going to be great. And he already has one in Pittsburgh. So if you're looking for a good steak this month, go try Martirano's. And I promise you, if that ain't the best steak you had, I'll buy the meal for you, because I'm telling you, like, he gets the best of everything for his, you know, you're going to wind up going there and, you know, you're going to get more than steak, because the Italian food is like if you went straight, you know, to Italy. The only difference is he has a nice little club vibe. It's like old school, you know, old school Italian. You know, you get the music going at like 11 and stuff like that. DJs and stuff. So that would be the place for the steak.
I'm just reading.
Nothing like a good steak. Texas Roadhouse is pretty good.
Texas Roadhouse is really good. Believe it or not, where I used to like them for their blooming onion. I'm not gonna lie. Outback. I love Outback for their blooming onion.
Outback, yeah.
Outback for their blooming onion is pretty good. You know another good pizzeria place down in South Jersey? La Scalafire. They're good. They're in Marlton, New Jersey. They're good for a good pizza, and they're actually good for actual meals and stuff like that. They're a nice little restaurant. They have another place down at the shore, I think, in LBI. That's another good spot. Yeah, I'm just trying to, you know. Oh, in Hainesport, they have a place called, I'm drawing a blank, so we won't go to that one.
Well, I mean, I don't know, the show it always goes by so fast. I mean, it's just the way it goes.
I remember Ray's Pizza in Manhattan. Ray's was pretty good back in the day.
Oh, Ray's is amazing. I was just in Manhattan. What pizza did I get? Patsy's Pizza. And they were good. Did you ever hear Patsy's? They've been around since 1933.
I heard, yeah. I don't know if I've been there. I heard of them.
Really, really authentic. Like, the sauce is, like, unbelievable.
I think my father's talked about that place, Phil.
Patsy's?
Hey,
yeah.
When this show ends, Julie, I want to order a calzone, a steak.
You know, I was saying that before. I'm gonna get up in the middle of the, I'm gonna wake up and Phil's gonna be gone. He's just gonna be gone. And the car's gonna be gone, he's gonna be gone, and that's the end of it. I know where he's going.
Somebody needs to invent. Look, we all love food. I'm Italian, you're Italian. Everybody loves food, right? Someone needs to invent a fat blocker pill. So I can eat whatever I want, take the pill, and it blocks out the fat. It just goes away.
I think they invented that.
Well, that would be called liposuction. And
no, they even got something easier than that. It's called
What's that?
Ozempic.
It's called what?
Ozempic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's like a whole nother show.
Oh, trust me, I could go on for that too, because I know a couple of people that take that.
That's the new pill, Phil, that I'm sure you heard about it. It's all over the news. It's everywhere. It's for diabetics. Everyone's taking it, and it's, it makes you.
The difference is, though, it kills your appetite. It makes you not want to eat.
Yeah.
So it basically, you know how, like, when they tell you in diabetes commercials, you have a good chance of losing weight because of the medicine. Well, basically, that's what they're doing with that medicine now. Like, if you have a weight problem, or you think you have a weight problem.
Well, people are taking it now that shouldn't be taking it, and it's not.
I'm not taking. No, I'm not taking. I wouldn't.
No, not you. I'm talking about just like it's all. That's all over the news. You hear that?
Yeah, and having shortages of it.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So there I go. It kind of reminds me. Hearing about that reminds me of like Hydroxycut back in the day when it was like that big thing.
That's when it worked. It don't work no more.
Hydroxycut is gone.
Yeah.
My body's immune to all of that. I got little baby garbones in me ready to fight off all of that stuff.
Well, this has been awesome. Talking about Staten Island and talking about food and ghosts, and there's so much going on. And but I am hungry, so Julie, just want to let you know that I'm starving right now from this conversation.
There's chicken in the oven. You can eat that. But,
Hey, where can people find you and all that good stuff?
What happened?
Where can people find you?
In a galaxy far, far. No, I'm only joking. On the Hungry Guido, you can get me on Instagram, TikTok. I have more of a following on TikTok, so if you see me on Instagram, it wouldn't hurt to follow. And that's really it, like those are the two page. That's really the page that you can really find me on today,
Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. It's been really fun.
Thank you. And thank Phil so much. You took a chance on having me. This is my first time ever on.
You did really good.
You did awesome.
I was nervous. I felt like I had one of these lights on me. You know what I mean?
Hey, before I let you go, what was the name they could find you at?
The Hungry. It's the _hungry _Guido. And that could be on TikTok, and that could also be on Instagram. I'm going to start a Facebook soon because I got to get into Facebook more, So
can you do me a favor? Give me one club song from the 80s.
One club song from the 80s. My House by the Mary Jane Girls.
There you go.
Huh.
Wow.
That was good.
Bring back down in memory lane.
Now
Well,
that
that's
I'm-
super fun.
You got that one. You can, you can get a couple of, Raquel. You can get a couple of Stevie
Yeah.
B. You know what I mean? Spring Love. We're right in that. We're right in that department.
Yeah. This is awesome.
All right,
Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Oh,
We have to
thank
have a
you.
special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show from day one.
Thank you so much, Carnation.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you. We love
Carnation.
And you guys can join us next week on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. And don't forget, we're on Roku, streaming from your TV. Don't forget about that. So thank you, Joe, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
God bless everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.